And we are recording. Okay, so in this episode of Farley Speaks...
I don't want this to be...
I want to talk about...
I don't intend for this video to be
a certain kind of person that you're likely to encounter.
To any particular video.
During your tenure on
part of the reason is that this transcript that we're reading from
living in society. So unless you have like a Unabomber lifestyle, you're likely to encounter this type of person. And
so I don't
this
really,
type of person
there's no reason for me to put it on my channel
in my life. People who
but
like to think for you.
There is one particular criticism I want to make about it. It has to do with the definition.
Now, there's a distinction between people who
this,
like to think for you and
the guy
people
who made
like
this video has
stated
that he works with vectors.
Well, okay, so I think that one
not sure what
that
subcategory
means. Of the other.
But I guarantee you he's not a
and then of course there's sort of an overlap.
I can also guarantee you that he's not a linguist.
I think it's fair to say there's a subtle distinction between people who like to give unsolicited advice versus people who like to think for you.
More than one meaning.
A person who gives unsolicited advice
he doesn't
is
understand
someone who
the mathematical definition
is well-meaning, and they're giving advice that
he says here
you can either accept or not accept.
The transcript.
But it's advice that they themselves have either used in their life, or something that they actually
relevant part. Okay, so a vector in mathematical
terms, even if they haven't used it
terms
in their own life, they've observed it in other people.
It's like, is this a rap song? It's like round the outside.
But a person who likes to think for you,
I don't know,
is a little bit more pathological than that.
Or scientific.
Usually people who like to think for you do it because they
have a sense
of power.
Okay, so that sounds like a circular
sometimes they do it
sounds like you don't
as a way to validate their own lack of success. So in other words, they find that they haven't achieved what they want in their life. And rather than work on that,
it's something that shows
they want
direction
to
and
sort of validate themselves by giving everyone else advice.
If you're talking about
sure, I haven't achieved what I want,
but the mathematical definition of for example, polynomial,
what everyone else's problem is.
Because the set of all
polynomials validates that
of length n is a vector. Actually, the set of all polynomials is a vector.
It makes them feel better about themselves because they can tell other people that no matter how fucked up their own life is,
those don't have a direction or a vector.
Try to make someone else feel like their life is more fucked up and they don't know what they're doing. And again, there's a difference between helpful and unhelpful.
Then it's not
helpful feedback. Is when you offer
in mathematics
objects, either something that has helped that person personally, or something that they actually observe.
If you have a blackboard eraser.
Versus just
and if
sort
you can
of feedback
find
for the
some
sake
way
of
or
feedback,
other define in a way that's well defined,
short, but
it doesn't have some kind of internal contradiction to the logic.
Have to nitpick
if you can
everything
define
that
a
you
way
do,
to scalar multiply,
and are always telling you things
in eraser,
like they have to
in a way that's
be
consistent, in a way that conforms
point
to
of view that you have,
axioms of a vector space,
whether it's in.
Then, mathematically speaking,
especially politics,
you can
but also
call that eraser
like,
a vector.
This is the type of job you should have to look for. This is the way that you should approach your career. This is the way that you should. This is the vector type of car you should
is
drive.
Defined as an abstract object.
This is how
of a vector
the
space.
type of food you should eat and not eat. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Is a set
detail
consisting of quote-unquote vectors,
and it's not necessarily based on anything.
Scalars are elements of a field.
Like it's not based on experiences they've had or knowledge that they actually have.
The real numbers, the real number line is
arbitrary.
Complex numbers also a field.
So the question is, how do you deal with it, or how do you tell the difference between helpful and unhelpful feedback?
The mathematical definition of a field is also an abstract.
You can ask are things like
idea.
You could do the thing.
Doesn't depend on any particulars.
Sort of the high school science teacher.
A set F
thing
is a vector space exactly when, by definition, for any
if
two.
You have the
first requirement is
science
you have two
class,
elements, x and y.
You might be familiar with,
and you have some sort of
a
way of defining vector addition,
stereotype who asks,
with a plus
when am I ever going to use this in life?
And the following must hold.
And if you're a
y
science teacher, you probably find this a annoying question.
Commutivity. of vector
because it
addition.
usually signifies that the student
The
is trying
second
to find an
requirement.
excuse.
It must be
for being
associative.
lazy.
Vector addition is
But
associative.
it's actually sort of a
So x plus parentheses y
it's a
plus
valid
z in
question to
parentheses
ask. Like
is
if,
equal
if,
to
if somebody's giving you
parentheses
advice, you
x
could
plus
ask
y
them.
in
Okay, assuming that they're
parentheses
not in
plus z.
a setting where they're socially
The
expected.
third requirement: every element must have an inverse. So if x is
like
an
in
element
school,
of
for
f,
instance, I think there's a
then there
legitimate
exists
reason to
another
learn
element
a
of y
subject.
such